From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News Weekend Edition.
Good evening and welcome to our Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News. I'm Katie Looper. Our top story tonight. Fairbanks police responded to a single-rider motorcycle accident last evening. The lone male driver lost control of his vehicle after approaching a speed bump too quickly. The incident occurred near the intersection of Bluebell Street and Kennecott Avenue in Fairbanks. The victim sustained injuries and was brought to the Fairbanks Memorial Hospital. No other injuries were involved in the crash. Fairbanks police officer Robert Johnson says motorcycle operators should be cautious while loose gravel remains on the road from the winter season.
Single occupant driver lost control after going over a speed bump, got on the gas a little too hard, hit some gravel, and then laid the bike down. Well, it's unclear whether he was wearing his helmet or not, so obviously make sure you have your helmet on at all times.
Alaskan Senator Dan Sullivan, an Armed Service Committee member, continued this week to press senior military leaders about Russia's militarization of the Arctic and U.S. Army's proposed troop reductions in Alaska. During the hearing, Sullivan talked with the head of the U.S. European Command and Supreme Allied Commander, Europe. Sullivan asked General Philip Breedlove if, given Russia's increased militarization of the Arctic, it made sense to, quote, reduce one Army soldier in Alaska, let alone one or two entire brigade combat teams. General Breedlove said it was his personal opinion that we should not reduce our capabilities in the North.
I think they are, to your concern, making sure that they have the military infrastructure to be able to influence the high North. Of course, their words are that this is all in a peaceful manner. And again,
pretty big military exercise to be in a peaceful manner.
Yes, sir. We have to watch their actions and see if we can derive their intents from those.
The legislature may have put Alaska's television and movie industry in jeopardy this session. Brandon Smith gives us more on this story.
The state's film tax incentives have been the contributing factor in Alaska's recent television and movie boom. Set in place in 2008, the Alaska Film Office began issuing huge tax credits to productions willing to shoot in Alaska. Film producers began almost immediately flocking north to finally showcase the state's vast landscapes and bring to the screen its unique stories. With the birth of the Alaska Film Office, production companies were finally able to film in Alaska affordably with up to a 58% tax credit, the second highest in the nation.
You know, there's a lot of revenue that's coming in and out of this business long term. The return on a blockbuster film is like 55%, right? If you do your numbers right, it's business. It's a $565 billion industry annually. It's our second biggest export in the U.S. It's a major U.S. export.
Sal Ganek moved to Alaska from New Mexico, the first state to offer tax credits. As the head of UAF's film program, she has spent over 5 years training the future employees of the state's film industry. Many of her students have already found plenty of work in their new field.
Oftentimes, my students aren't making it to class because they're on set. It's a great problem. I'm like, oh, sorry, you're working for a living in the industry I'm training you to do. Too bad, that's great, right? It happens all the time that my brightest students end up working in the field. You know, they're ambitious and they do it. And so by the time they've graduated, they've got a list of credits that are like Discovery Channel, Animal Planet.
Governor Walker's recent budget cuts have included the elimination of the Alaska Film Office, effective immediately, as well as SB 39's proposed elimination of the state's film credit subsidy. Walker will have until the end of May to either sign into law or veto the bill. Many locals working in the industry are now facing an uncertain future.
I think that the legislature is being kind of stupid on it, that they're not letting this thing mature out before they try cutting it, which they are cutting it. And I think that they need to let this thing mature out, see where it goes, and because this will be the next new thing. It's basically the new kind of pipeline.
I was one of the first students to become part of the film program when it first started up at UAF. And since then, I've been working on getting as many jobs as I can in film and TV and other types of entertainment production. So with the program being suspended, it makes me feel like I don't know if I can actually continue to do this work in Alaska if I choose to live here.
This is Brandon Smith reporting.
When we come back, today was the 34th annual Chena River Run and hundreds were in attendance. Also, a character from the original Mr. Rogers neighborhood was outside the Fairbanks Community Food Bank this afternoon. We'll tell you why. Those stories and more when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. Bail has been granted for a Fairbanks man charged after an attempted armed robbery in the Walmart parking lot. 45-year-old James Davison Jr. is charged with conspiracy to commit robbery and felony assault. Today, a Superior Judge ruled Davison Jr. could be released on $10,000 bail, plus the condition of a court-appointed third-party custodian. The judge noted the serious nature of the offense. According to the court documents, Davison and his co-defendant Samantha Rogers tried to rob a woman at gunpoint but were unsuccessful. They were later arrested and have been in custody at Fairbanks Correctional Center. Trial for their case is set for June. Bail has been granted for 4 of the 6 Fairbanks teens accused in an armed robbery. Tyler Mullen, Antoine Arazo, Harley Tweet, and Kyle Brown have all been granted bail after being indicted on 5 felonies in connection with the robbery. The other 2, Patrick Genter and Kai Thomas, have not been granted bail. Court documents allege the 6 teens used a baseball bat and gun to rob a man of marijuana to take to Arctic Man earlier this month. They were later caught by authorities and arrested. All 6 are being charged as adults in the case. A trial for their case was set for July. Almost 800 runners crossed the finish line today at the 34th annual Chena River Run. They started at Wood River Elementary, ran down University West, under the bridge, past U Park, and onto the Princess Hotel. After competitors dashed through the finish line, the chips attached to their bib marked their time and allowed them to view their place online within minutes. With online registration and automatic timing, the process can be far more efficient and paperless. All the proceeds go to the Rotary Club of Fairbanks, and this year Rotary is working on a water project in Belize. At the end of the race, runners were greeted with cheering fans, refreshments, and t-shirts. Several runners and supporters said they enjoyed the beautiful weather and felt rewarded to cross the finish line.
Done a lot of 5Ks, 10Ks, marathons, but I am slowing down. My goal was to finish. I'm older. I'm old.
This year they're having automatic timing, so you can actually instantly look on your iPhone and see what your time was.
Chena River Run does most of their registration through Chronotrack. So they were registering people today over at Wood River, and the registrations go up into the cloud. And then this data from here at the finish goes up into the cloud, and all the magic happens up in the cloud. So after somebody finishes, their results are already available on the web. It's an excellent system.
Get those bicycles out and start pedaling. Governor Bill Walker has declared May to be Bike Month. The governor's proclamation states that biking is a healthy, fun, and affordable way of getting from here to there. Businesses, police departments, schools, and many other groups will be promoting biking throughout the month. Next Wednesday is Bike to School Day, as local police visit various schools to teach bike safety. The Fairbanks Metropolitan Area Transportation System, or FMATS, is updating their popular map that illustrates the best roads and pathways for bikes. Those will be ready just in the time for Bike to Work Week starting the 11th of May. FMATS coordinator Donna Gardino says there are several activities planned to help people shift gears from cars to bikes.
It's a bike expo and bike swap on May 16th, which is at the end of Bike to Work Week, and that's at Pioneer Park, and it's sponsored by the Fairbanks Cycle Club. And so you can have a bike swap in the morning and then learn bike safety afterwards with a bike rodeo.
Today, anxious fans lined up outside the food bank to see a friendly, familiar TV character. Daniel Tiger is one of the original characters from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and now he has his own show to carry on Mr. Rogers' lessons. Last December, KUAC teamed up with the Fairbanks Community Food Bank, Calypso Farm, the Fairbanks Senior Center, the Midnight Sun Council, and the Green Star of Alaska to create a grant. They were 1 in 8 across the country to receive the Be My Neighbor grant. Daniel Tiger came with a grant and allowed these nonprofits to teach families how to give back to the community. One way they did that was by giving out trash bags for cleanup day. They also set up different table stations and a photo op with Daniel. The goal was to create a community-minded event and teach families about how to give back.
You know, it's really fun. KUAC actually contacted us and asked if we'd like to be a part of this. And what a great thing. You know, what we talk about the food bank is that good happens and that we're all neighbors. We need to work together. So talk about Be My Neighbor Day. We were so excited to be able to be a part of this awesome event.
We were excited to come on out and meet Daniel and see what the things we could do for the community. Once the doors opened, we just came on in, registered, and they gave us our passport to go to each station, and we have been coloring and made a card for people, so we're having a lot of fun.
I would just say, you know, learn as much about the nonprofits that are involved, including KUAC, and make sure that all of our messages and our missions can keep going on into the future.
Mike Fussel's coming up next with all your local sports action. Stay tuned.
And welcome back, Interior Alaska. Mike Fussell here with your latest local sports action. This has been one very busy weekend of games, meets, and matches. But first, we'll start with some unfortunate news for local hockey fans. The Ice Dogs are no longer in the playoffs. The team took on the Minnesota Wilderness last night in Game 3 of their second postseason series. Here's a look at how the Dogs rounded out their season.
Dogs started off Game 3 against the Minnesota Wilderness in a true team fashion. Fairbanks needed the win to stay alive in the postseason as they were already down 2-0 in series play, and the Wilderness had their eye on sweeping the Dogs in their home arena at the Big Dipper. Fairbanks would score 3 goals late in the first period. Hans Gorowski started off the night, helped by an assist from Ethan Samoza around the 15-minute mark. Jacob Hetz and Tyler Tomberlin added 2 more, bringing the game to 3-0, with the Ice Dogs on top going into the first intermission. The game turned on its head in the second period. Minnesota tallied 3 points, and Fairbanks was unable to answer back. Special teams were one of the major factors allowing the Wilderness to rally and catch up with the Ice Dogs. 2 of the 3 second-period goals scored by Minnesota were on power plays, and the other was a shorthanded conversion between the pipes. The change in momentum evened the score at 3, wiping the slate clean for a new game in the third period. The Wilderness leveraged their momentum a little more than halfway through the last period as Darren Romenko found his way past the hometown goalie. He would strike again just minutes later on an empty net, and Minnesota's Ian Mansfield would do the same just seconds after him.
We just had to believe. I mean, we were down 3-0 against Cooley, and we came back. We just kept believing in our guys. We knew we could do it all night long.
The late rally put Minnesota on top at the last whistle, 6-3, knocking the Ice Dogs out of the playoffs.
Well, they affected us dramatically. We gave them 2 power play goals. Our special teams, we didn't win this whole series, and we lost to a good team. They were a good team, and you kind of saw what they were about in the second and third period. And unfortunately for us, we feel we have a pretty good team, and we weren't as sharp as they were in this series.
Fairbanks finishes the postseason with a 3-3 record, and the Wilderness will move on to the next level of the playoffs.
And local high school track teams kicked up some dust at the Lathrop Invitational meet earlier today. Eielson, Hutch, Monroe, North Pole, and West Valley were all present. The action started on Friday, though, with field events and long-distance running. The West Valley runner Jenna DeFalco took top honors in the girls' 2-mile run, while the Wolfpack's Spencer Herron also finished in first for the boys. Colony swept the first-place spot in boys' high jump, triple jump, and shot put. Most of the track events happened on Saturday. Hurdlers pushed themselves early in the day. Colony continued their success, finishing first in the boys' 4x800 relay. Runner Trayson Knopp says the victory was a team effort.
Opened up real fast, got us a big lead in there. Hand off to me, just tried to keep it, stay strong throughout the whole thing. Then Jacob and Tyler ended it very strong. Tyler with some good kick at the end. Yeah, it was a good time, it was fast time.
And the South Anchorage High School soccer teams traveled up to Fairbanks for a weekend of interior matchups. West Valley were their first challengers, and they met on Friday night. The Lady Wolfpack tried to gain control of the game, but it got away from them quickly as South scored 6 points in the first half. The West girls would tally 1 in both halves, but it was not enough to stop the momentum of their opponents. The Lady Wolverines would go on to win it 7-2. South State caliber boys team then took on West Valley, who held it close for much of the match, but just couldn't get the upper hand against the Anchorage team. South won again 4-2. But on Saturday, North Pole teams were looking to stop the momentum of the out-of-towners. South did not let that happen, though. They beat North Pole boys 4-0. And rugby teams from across Alaska met for battle at UAF's Ash Field earlier today. It was all a part of the Fairbanks' annual Spring Fest tournament. The hometown Lady Ravens got a big multi-try win early against a statewide mixed team. The Sun Dogs, a local men's team, were also successful early in the day. They started off head-to-head with a squad from Anchorage. Both units would score and convert for extra points in the first half of the 7-man matchup. Fairbanks pushed onward in the second with another 7 points. They would hold on to win it 14-7. All teams played several games in what is one of the first Alaskan tournaments of the spring. And that about brings us to the buzzer for sports tonight. Katie Looper is up next with your full weather forecast. Thanks for checking in, and we'll see you next weekend.
Welcome back to our Saturday edition. So I was just talking with Mike and I was saying how I love going up Chena Ridge just because I've noticed that the trees are all starting to bud already.
Yeah, you can see all the blossoms out there. That's great. I have been sneezing a little bit more, so the pollen in the air, that might be something going on.
Yeah, it's a huge allergy season. I know a ton of people have just like developed allergies from this year.
Well, one thing I'm not allergic to is good weather. Are we going to be expecting any of that?
Yes, we've got great weather ahead of us. Summer is here, summer's coming. Actually, we go from spring to summer so quickly here. You'll see that the trees will bloom and it'll be 2 weeks later that everything is just full force.
All green.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, well, let's take a look at our weather for today, starting with our almanac. There's a normal high today of 55 degrees, a normal low of 32. Our record high got up to 78 in 1995 and as low as 5 in 1945. Quite the difference. Our sun rose at 5:16 this morning and it sets at 10:25 this evening, giving us a nice long day, 17 hours and 9 minutes altogether. All right, now around the state today, we can see that there's rain showers in Ketchikan at 50 degrees, yet sunny skies in Juneau at 51, same with Anchorage at 58, yet cloudier skies in Kodiak at 45. As we move over to the west, Bethel and Nome is looking real clear, 28 in Nome, 21 in Barrow with cloudy skies for them, and as for the interior, 56 degrees with partly sunny skies. Now as we move on down to our lower 48, Seattle is sunny at 65 degrees. Las Vegas, Phoenix is heating up to be in the 90s already. As for Denver, 76 for them. Rain showers in Minneapolis at 80 degrees. As we move over to the east, 80s for New Orleans and Miami as well at 82. And sunny skies up there in New York at 69. Just sunny skies practically all across the states. And as for earlier next week, we can see mild temperatures in the north. Dry weather over on the west side of the states, but as we move over to the east, thunderstorms are expected with heavy thunderstorms near the Texas and Oklahoma area. And as we move even more over to the east, very, very warm temperatures for the deep south Miami area. And then lastly, moving up north, showers for the New York area. Now as we move in back to Alaska, the northern slope is mostly cloudy in Barrow, partly sunny in Fort Yukon and Nome, 25 in Barrow, 40 in Nome, and 49 in Fort Yukon. Now let's move over to the interior. Sunny skies all across the region, 60 in Fairbanks and 58, 57 in Delta. Nice temperatures there. Now as we move it down to the east, sunny in Juneau, increasing clouds in Ketchikan, nice temperatures in the mid-50s. And moving over to the west side of the state, rain for Bethel and Kodiak, mostly sunny in Cold Bay. And again, nice temperatures all around 50 degrees. Lastly, for our south central region, mostly sunny in Anchorage and Homer, clear skies in Valdez, temperatures in the mid-50s. And for tonight's forecast, 32 degrees, another cool and cloudy evening, but tomorrow is looking really nice, 60 degrees. Summer is coming and sunny skies. And now here we come to our really funny extended outlook, 60s all across the week and 30 all for our nightly temperatures. I mean, they're pretty consistent temperatures, but I'm happy with them.
Yeah, it's a monotonous outlook, but I'd have it no other way. It looks great. You can start to mix things up though. Start to eat outdoors, do fun things like that.
Yes, I love eating outside, you know, picnic season or going to a restaurant with the deck. It's just like, it's wonderful.
Yep, start to shed your coat and enjoy that weather. That sounds
great. Except you gotta bring your sunglasses because the sun, it's still a little low in the sky, but eventually it'll get higher.
Exactly. I've noticed that driving too, but sunglasses, sign of summer.
Exactly, I don't mind.
Exactly.
All right, well, that'll wrap up our Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News, and we're glad you could join us.
Join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good night and enjoy your weekend.